Millionaire podcast. We won't call it Millionaire Talks. We just over here talking about some really cool stuff. We got the brother Dre.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, as always, just creating value for the people. A lot of things have been going on the internet. I'm gonna let Andre introduce the topic. But man, that's kind of cool. I just popped it. I set it up so when you go live, you just automatically play the intro video.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. Good job.
So, there's a lot of cool things going on in here. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, Lita? Topic: Shannon Sharp. Could he have avoided this? Why did he do it? His life, his business. Pros and cons to being in a long-term relationship. So all that.
Yeah, it's funny because I was looking at there's a post that just went up, and I saw the name of the lady, and then I saw the picture of the lady, and I was very disappointed. I was like, brother, Black Queens forever, Snow Bunnies never.
And he could have got a better looking one if he's gonna do that. Like, all right, so I'm gonna do my rant. So for context, was married, was in a long-term relationship that was heading towards marriage. Haven't been in a serious relationship since then. So that's my case. So, but I am pro-relationship now. Maybe a little controversial. I'm even pro-relationship, even if it's ethical non-monogamy, which I think about 30 people are non-monogamous. It's not always ethical, meaning that there's some arrangement, right? I'm just pro-honesty. Some people just aren't going to be monogamous, and I still think they should. I still think more people would be happier pursuing a relationship, even if they were in an ethical, non-monogamous situation. All right. There are so the thing with a relationship, so marriage or a long-term relationship, whichever verbiage you want to use, there are the thing about it is, of course, it's not always fun, right? It just is what it is, but it just helps you minimize risk with certain things. It just helps you reduce, okay, this has a less likelihood of happening if I do X, Y, Z. And just on a optic standpoint, I'm not in love with men 35 plus talking about casually dating on podcasts. I mean, I stopped it. I just don't, there's just something about it that doesn't come across well. Even, hey, look, not everyone's in a relationship. That's fine. I just think, especially if you're rich, it could only come back to bite you. You're going to say something that someone doesn't like and talk about menage a trois, and it ain't the move. And I don't think everyone has to be like you. I consider you upstanding man, solid traditional household. Shout out to my man Nolan. Some people aren't going to go that route, but but there's just so much that can go wrong with men always casually dating, bro. I think people need to think about relationships from that standpoint as well. All right,
I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of anecdote, a lot of tweets. But I was on Facebook today and I saw my little cousin. He's kind of like my god brother. And he's my god brother because my mom is his godmom.
Gotcha.
And he posted this picture of him and his family, and it was him, his wife. I think they're married, and their 2 kids, and they were dressed up. It was an Easter kind of picture, and they had their nice big white SUV, and I was like, that's exactly what we're doing. And I thought it was kind of cool because it's like somebody's seeing and tracking the positive and mirroring it. Like they see what we're doing, how we're doing, and then like, man, that's a good situation to be in. I want to be in that situation.
I think you, Tim Jackson, Xavier Miller, a few other people, if people want a general archetype to follow, mix up you guys.
And the thing is you give up a lot for those things.
You do.
Like I put out this tweet and I'm gonna read it, and it was like, what did it say? A lot of dudes won't marry because they like sex with a variety of women. A lot of women won't marry because they like multiple men funding their lifestyle. And I the thing about it is you can go so much deeper. Like for one, your life shouldn't be all about sex. Like there are so many other things. Like that's sexual transmutation. The idea of sexual transmutation is that you take the energy that you would otherwise be putting into sex or chasing women, chasing multiple women, constantly on the prowl, and you put it into your goals. Sexual transmutation. Everybody talks about the book Think and Grow Rich. That's one of the principles of Think and Grow Rich.
You said the hardest line ever I don't think it was 4 years ago, 4 years ago. How much money have you spent on dating compared to how much money did you spend on your wife? Something like that. You remember it?
Mm-hmm.
And I did the numbers. I was embarrassed. And I say this, even if a relationship doesn't work out, you are still spending less money, generally speaking, on a woman than casually dating. And I don't even think it's close. I would even say you spend less money in most cases having a housewife than you do casually dating.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do want a relationship with the casual dating, you're always thinking about a relationship. So now your mind is all different places. Now, our barber, or our Atlanta barber, when you're in Atlanta, Josiah, he was married at 21. I said, man, and he's people who said, man, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I said, dude, do it and do it now. 2 kids, coaching program. How much nonsense did he avoid getting married at 21 compared to 31 or 41 or whatever?
Yep.
So what's your thoughts? The white woman, the 19-year-old or what OF woman. Fam, like
I would say one of the things that came to mind is like when you are somebody of that status, you have to be on guard because people come at you with not the best intention. And so people will come to you with the idea of extracting as much money from you as possible. People will come to you, and I think that was kind of like the primary motive in there. And then what gets bad is when people can't get that money out of you,
they're gonna figure out a way.
They'll burn it all down. They'll burn it all down. A lot of the reasons why you see a lot of people who like burn things down is because the money train stopped.
Yeah.
So when they was paying, you was loving. When they stopped paying, now all of a sudden they ain't never done nothing good in their life. And so like that was one of the things that I think is important because if you're married, you're kind of protected from that. You're protected from predators. Marriage is protection.
You're able to dodge a lot of stuff. You're able to dodge so much stuff with being in a relationship for him.
You don't know who's looking at you as a come up, as a shortcut, as a way out. And there's so many more people that don't have it than that do have it. And so I think that's another reason why like smart people choose to lock it down before they get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to get there and now it's like, does she really rock with me? Or does she not rock with me?
You don't know.
And it's very tough to stay locked in because marriage takes a lot of work. Like we see the pictures on the internet, but it's still real life behind those pictures.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't know too many people who've been married. I would say even over 3 to 5 or 8 years who haven't at least thought about calling it quits. Like a firm conversation too, like for an extended time period. I just think most people have, but I think some people just compare it to the opposite. Like, damn, I got to go deal with that. They watch Kendra G or one of those talk shows, and they're like, I got to go deal with that. You know what, man? Here goes some catfish. Let's go figure something out, man. You want some Wayne's girl? And that's just real life. So something else I noticed, and I've been noticed this. Shaq does it too. Shaq, Shannon Sharp. There are 2 people who do it. There's a certain immaturity, even though these dudes are worth what? Shannon's probably worth at least 80, 100 million. Shaq, 400 or 500 million. There's a certain immaturity in men over, let's say, over 50, maybe even over 40, when they aren't in relationships in their verbiage. They talk, or should I say we, talk freer than somebody maybe like you, because when you are in a relationship and are married, you have somebody kind of there, so you kind of got to watch what you say to a certain extent. And these guys, at times, they talk like they're big teenagers. Have you ever peeped that, or you ever noticed that?
I haven't noticed it in like the big time dudes, like the Cam Newtons and them, but 100% I've noticed it in like the just general like Black Pill podcast people. Also, I've kind of noticed it in Tyreek Hill, the receiver from the Dolphins. Like, he says some reckless stuff, does some reckless stuff, and he has a bunch of kids, and he was married. They're getting divorced, but the dude has like 12 kids.
Yeah. There's just a certain immature, like, oh, I did this, and if you close your eyes and then you don't see the people talking, you think, okay, they're 19, they're 25 maybe. And I'm like, damn. And I don't keep saying to myself, is I hope I don't sound like that. I just don't want to sound like that. But yeah, man. Here's the thing: 50-plus-year-old freaky man vibes. So, shout out to Erica.
So like I was reading the text because there was a post that. So when I first saw Shannon Sharp speak, I was like, bruh, nobody else would ever do this. Nobody else would just hop on there and just start recording some episode or some like reaction.
I can almost guarantee his counsel told him don't do that. I can almost guarantee that.
And
I mean, your counsel,
first,
you know, right?
I thought he didn't even have an attorney. I was like, bro, like you need to lawyer up and you need to just, because anything that you post, anything that you say can be twisted a certain way. Yeah. And so it's like he shouldn't be doing that. Firstly, like Jay-Z would never. Jay-Z ain't never done that. He released a statement through his counsel.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did finally see the statement through his attorney, it was way more thought out, way more thorough, and exposed that like he was kind of being preyed on almost. And it's the same attorney. I'm sure you guys have seen Busby,
yeah.
Who's pretty much come after everybody. I'm not sure if it's race related or clout related or both, or maybe we're just exposing ourselves because we're not doing the things that will protect you from that instant, which is the marriage, is the relationship, is the long-term relationship, is the monogamy. And then as you start to kind of read through the text that the attorney was posting, you start to see like, man, she was really like coming after him, trying to get money out of him. And you kind of feel bad for him. But the thing is you try to tell brothers this, and this is why this is important. This isn't about Shannon Sharp. This is about dudes that are watching this that don't understand the importance of the things that we're discussing. That's why I wanted to hop on, is because I'm imploring you all that if you are high value, if someone of status, if you have a name, you need to do at bare minimum lock it in. And I think the best thing you do is lock it in with the mother of the children.
You got to live somewhat on defense as a black man, especially a black man, public figure, especially a black man who's rich. Part of your life is on defense. Like, all right, I could do this, and I could get away with this, but if I don't, what's going to happen? And when people are habitually single, you don't have to think about that as much. You're kind of just semi-winging it. I don't know where in the black man's Bible it says even a casual thing with a 19-year-old vanilla lady who has an OF profile is ever a good look for a 50-year-old black man. You couldn't find somebody 45 who's an MD who doesn't want it to get out as much as you do. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's level, even with singleness, even with all this, there's certain levels you can do things at. That's like, all right, I don't agree with that, but I get it. This is just stupid.
For what it's worth, I think there's a method to women's madness when they have these standards that they have. A lot of women won't touch you if you're not at their level or above. And a lot of times it sounds like being a gold digger, but it might just be wisdom. Because a lot of these dudes, man,
you're avoiding certain stuff.
Yep.
There's certain things to avoid, and in life, you have to know what's worth the risk versus the reward. You have women literally throwing them, and that's the one you go and OF. You could get with the Kroger's worker, Kroger's manager, nurse, RN, LPN, nursing school facilitator, somebody with something to lose. Isn't that what they always say? Make sure who you date guy has something to lose. Like there's way better direction to go. Even if you aren't going to go the formal traditional route, there's certain levels and routes to go. And I know we try not to do the follow this to a T, but I think we need to throw some bullet points out there, Charles, of things brothers should have in place. What do you think? Let's say 3 to 5 are.
3 to 5. My 3 to 5, the things that men should have in place. Well, first off, I want to say that today Nolan had his private school assessment and he passed with flying colors.
Woohoo! I'm wrong. Brother Nolan, congratulations.
And the reason why that's important is because it's intentionality amongst like his parents. And I think that that's very important for people because there's a lot of times a lot of things get thrown around like black men this, black men that, black kids this, but really it's just like, are you doing the work? Are you not doing the work? Are you focused? Are you not focused? Are you intentional? You're not intentional. And so it's just cool to see that payoff. Like I always tell people like my kid's success is my success. Like I measure what I'm doing in life based on how well he's doing in life, based on how well he is put together in life, based on how articulate he is, how well read he is. That's what I measure my success based off of. So that's the first thing. But what are some things that men need to have in place? Man,
we can give age number. We can give ages too. So by 25, he should what? And you maybe have a college degree, have a skill, trade.
There's a lot to. So first off, in terms of college, I think college is very important, and some people like it, some people don't like it. You can't go back in time and you can't redo what you could have done. But I personally feel like for my son, I want him to go to college. He will be going to college, and that's just the focus.
Okay.
I think that by 25, you should have identified who you want to settle down with. You might not have to settle down, but you should be serious. I think what's interesting is like a lot of men, they go through a lot of women. And it's like, how you go through all the women and not find nothing quality? Like you found some quality. And so I think that you should have identified that person by 25. I getting married under 25 is kind of scary because your frontal lobe hasn't fully developed, as a lot of people talk about. You haven't really kind of identified where you want to go. I think you might still have some maturing. I think that between 27 and 30 is the ideal time to do it. I think that you should have identified some sort of a skill that's going to allow you to make money with or without a job.
Okay.
And I think that's very important because you might not always have a job, but you need to have a skill. You need to have a trade. You need to have something that you can do that sets you apart from just the average laborer. And so that can be anything. That can be an electrician, that can be a plumber, that can be a roofer, cement work, something. You need to have something that's a trade. That can be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. And I think that's really important because trade can be either college educated or it can just be trade school oriented.
Plumbing, carpenter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think you might need to have like a quality hobby.
Fishing, golf.
Yeah, a quality hobby, networking purposes, mental stimulation, relaxation. It allows you to meditate. A lot of people see me playing golf and they think it's just golf, and it's like, no, like the coolest thing is just being out there in nature. Being out there, it's the grass, it's the trees, it's the winds, it's the sun. And you're just hanging out, vibing, listening to music, whacking the ball around for a few hours. It kind of allows you to meditate a little bit and kind of get grounded.
Okay.
What about you, Dre?
So something I encourage us, well, I'm not a parent, but I have nieces. I think we should do it. I think it's just as important or more important to set up your kids' retirement than your kids' education. So let's say my man, brother Nolan. Charles throws $50 here, $100 here, $1,000 there, his birthday money in, let's go with the basic Roth IRA, right? So Nolan's 5 or 4?
5 years old, yep.
5 years old. So from 5 to 18, you do it every year. by the time Brother Nolan is 35, he's rich. Just that simple one thing, he's rich. So I do think, look, 25 a year, $50 a year, all these things add up. So I think we should, us as father figures or fathers, should set up our kids for a comfortable adulthood and retirement. But if our parents did not, it's up to us. So as soon as you get a job, you're gonna open up Vanguard or one of those apps, put $20 in there. Do it every time you get paid. Once a month, you have a totally different life when you get to 30, 40, 50. What I want us to do is have a safe landing. So no matter what happens, okay, this investment didn't go right, this went wrong, I got fired, I have a safe landing in my mid-30s. Second one, I do think having a passport is important. Even if people aren't travelers like that, I do think brothers should have a passport. Third thing is a gym membership. I do believe we should have a gym membership or join a run club or some kind of physical activity for the social aspect as well. That you meet cool people there and you stay on point. The number one killer in our community is diet related and lack of exercise related things. We just can't ignore that. Like the numbers are the numbers. I was in the gym at 4 a.m. yesterday, which is crazy. But yeah, I was there freaking 4 a.m. A relationship, commitment, marriage. I do think look. I know people who got married 25-ish or so. I haven't had anybody tell me, this is just my friends and extended friend circle, and the majority of my friends' relationships have worked out. But I haven't had anybody tell me that 25-ish, 26-ish, 24-ish was too young. They just found the right person. I think if you find a person who you have 70%, this is Kevin Samuels' word, shout out to Kevin Samuels, his number was 70%. If you find somebody who gives you 70% of your list or more, you want. Don't even wait for the 100. It's a scam. The 70%, and you rock out, and you solidify it. I also, this might be a little controversial, I also don't think you always have to have a marriage license to have a marriage. I think you could do everything else and have an agreement outside of the court system, but that's just my personal take. But I just think the benefits to being in a relationship so far outweigh the cons. I think it's crazy. Such a big difference, fam. Social aspects, financial aspects, childbearing. Yeah, those are some of the things. I also think all Black men should come to the Black Men Building Wealth Conference.
Part three. I think what you said about the age thing in terms of marriage, I think you're right. I known my wife since I was 19, and so when we graduated from college, we probably could have done that thing. I ended up going back to law school at like 25, kind of pushed us out a little bit, but I think you're 100% right. I think that I think that, and I'm not sure who said this, but a lot of people have already met their wife. A lot of people have already met their husband. Absolutely. They probably met him when they were at that time, because that's your prime. Like, women ain't gonna look no better than they look when they was like 25.
Now, do you think more men pass up their wives or more women pass up their husbands?
Honestly, I have no idea. But I feel like, because I've been watching those like interviews with like Carrie Hilson and Tracy Ellis Ross, and I'm like, y'all didn't find nobody. Y'all didn't find nobody. They had to have. I
think more women pass up their husbands than men pass up their wives. Here's the thing that men do more. Of course, not perfect, but men do more. Men tend to tell other men when we've won. Like, all right, this is in some form or fashion, we're gonna say, okay, this is the best you could do. Just lock it down. We might not use that verbiage, but we'll say that. Women, I don't know if they tell each other that. I think they might tell each other, girl, he got this, got that, but I don't know. Instead of saying, no, he's it. Like this, this is it. I think
part of the problem is that a lot of women, their inner circle isn't married as well.
Yeah.
And so when your inner circle doesn't have a spouse, they can't really give you advice that's specific to getting a spouse, keeping a spouse, identifying a spouse.
It's
because
true.
they're still their mindset is still there's something better out there, something better out there, something better out there. And so anything that they tell you is going to be rooted in there's something better out there. All the conversation, all the activities, all the travel, all the excursions on the travel, we're looking for something better.
And I'll tell you this, that whole my type thing, I think 70% of people marry people who aren't their type. Their initial type, should I say.
I didn't. I married my type.
You did. I wasn't going to say that could be rude, but yeah, you did.
But I did marry around 25.
I think 70% of people
around 25. I didn't marry.
I think 70% of people are going to marry people who aren't their initial type.
But I would say that like the type is a problem. A lot of people who are specific to their type, they're missing a lot of people who could work for them. I was watching this Pop the Balloon show.
You love that show.
And there's like this older lady. She was like 43. It's kind of chunky. And she's walking down the line. Everybody popped on her. And there's this brother who like looked like her complete match. And she was like, yeah, he's not my type. I was like, what are you talking about? You guys are a match.
We're in wild times, Charles. Average people don't like average people anymore, man. We are in wild times. You said this a while ago, and I think you were semi-joking, but we need arranged marriages. So like Nolan should be marrying one of your friends' daughters at 20, 25 years old, and it should be ready to be picked out by the time they're 15.
You know what's funny is I've had that thought, and I've also kind of had a similar conversation, because a lot of times what happens is when you have close friends, you call them auntie and uncle, and so then that person becomes your cousin,
becomes like family,
and I think that that's a mistake. And so I personally, because like if you're hanging out with that family, you know their family, I always feel like you're not necessarily like identifying a child or like an individual for your spouse, you're identifying a family because they're marrying into the family. And so it's like when they go out into the streets and they just find somebody, like, yeah, they might be attractive, they might be whatever, but like, what's their family look like? What's their background look like? Because that's going to be what's going to be.
It's like, you know, people, similar economic backgrounds, similar family structures. Just throwing it out there.
There's a reason why people did what they used to do back in the day.
There's a reason.
Sometimes we like to think we're smarter than people who were doing things in the past.
No, we're dumber.
Reinvent.
No, but we're dumb. we look at the society, bro. We're going backwards. So back to your man Shannon Sharp. Never been married.
I'm assuming
Ocho Cinco, never been married. They have a show together. It's entertaining. It's cool. Obviously, they both have kids. All kids out of wedlock. I believe all of them have kids with different women. Ocho might have a set of kids with the same woman, I believe. Would you? Let's say this. Let's say you're worth $5 million now, right? So you're worth $5 million. Let's say these guys are worth $100 million, but you have to have their life. You have to have their life at $100 million, their lifestyle compared to you at $5 million. Which one would you pick?
Nolan said this one. I feel like. I feel like part of what allows certain people to live certain lives is because of the education that they've obtained. And I feel like, and I was thinking about this, one thing about college that it did for me is it sparked the desire to learn. It wasn't necessarily the degree, it was sparking the desire to learn. So as a result, I've read countless books on stock market investing. I've read countless books on real estate investing. I've read countless books on business, countless books on self-help. And so, like, I think that I would like them to have the wisdom, and I don't think that that's necessary. I don't think that's necessarily like an athlete thing or non-athlete thing. Some of my favorite athletes are my favorite athletes, not so much because of like what they do on the court, but more so what they do in their personal lives. And I've identified this in a few different people, and I keep pointing it out.
Right?
So LeBron is one, Steph Curry is another. And Kobe Bryant's another. Knowing your mom's gonna pull you out. Come on.
all married, 4 kids.
And all protected. All protected.
I haven't heard any scandals about them before.
All protected. And I think that the interesting thing about Kobe, not so much LeBron, but Kobe and Steph, and I always tell people this, is their dads were pro athletes. So their dad saw it coming. Their dad knew what came with this whole lifestyle. They're like, it's going to be a lot of women. They're going to throw it at you. They're not going to have any of the best intentions for you. They're literally trying to take and extract what they can get from you. And so they got married very young. They locked it down. They built beautiful families. But the other point that I want to make is these athletes, they're always aiming for like the baddest of the baddest of the baddest of the baddest. And when you aim like that, it can create problems. LeBron James, his wife is not the baddest of the baddest of the baddest of the baddest. She's attractive. She presents really well. She's very articulate, but you start running into problems when you're aiming for that tier woman. And so it's like, just get you a normal chick. Do like Kobe did. That's what Kobe did.
I consider all their wives very pretty girl next door looks. And the girl, especially your wife, I was consider in the girl next door realm. There's a certain look. And men don't always know it. And it may not be aware, but that's the look that most men go for. George, you know George. I would pronounce his last name.
H. Chung Pong.
Yeah, his wife, girl next door look. Men have a look that we go for in terms of wife, yo.
And it's because you don't marry a woman based on how she looks.
Only fools do that. It just doesn't work well. You have to find her attractive, but you don't have to be the most attracted to her out of any woman you've ever seen in life. Like smart people like you guys marry for structure, legacy, compatibility, friendship, supportiveness, values.
And that's why you get longevity versus somebody who's chasing the baddest of the baddest of the baddest, and they got 2 years and a baby mama. I was gonna say this earlier. Is like one of the things that men do, because we were talking about like people passing over their wife, and I was like, women pass over their husband, but men are just like leaving their potential wife. If she was bad enough for you to have kids with, she was bad enough to be your wife.
Really? Yeah. Now that you say it like that. Yeah. You there, Charles?
Yep.
Okay. I tell you, man, I would hate to be a baby daddy. I'm gonna keep it raw. I would, even the term BD and BM make my skin crawl. I would hate to be a baby daddy, bro.
And it's bad for a few reasons. One of the reasons why it's bad is you literally have to like, you're not like, for example, I go to the grocery store and I buy groceries for the family. I'm not getting a text like, hey, we need groceries, send some money. I go buy Easter clothes. I'm not getting a text like, hey, we need Easter clothes, send some money. Yeah. It's a way different feeling. It's a way different feeling.
That and I would literally hate another man raising my child. That would be torture to me, bro. And another man raising my kid. And I know what happens. And I'm not saying that all men have given up. I think a lot of men have tried, but it didn't work for whatever reason. But damn, man, another man raising my kid, that would sting, bro.
Yep. And also like in all this, and these are related issues. There's a lot of growth in coming and doing all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's something that I tell my mom. There's a lot of people when they avoid the responsibilities, when they avoid the obligations, they avoid the growth.
Yeah.
We've seen Steph mature. We've seen LeBron mature. There's a certain level of maturity that comes when you have to take care of a whole other person besides yourself. And when people make kids and then abandon the relationship, they're also abandoning the growth. They're abandoning the wisdom. They're abandoning the maturity. They're abandoning the ability to communicate. These are things that are learned. A lot of people from the outset, they want to find somebody who has all these character traits and all these accomplishments, not realizing the relationship creates those. A lot of them want to find a man who's a finished product, not realizing that the man needs you to become a finished product. He needs you to accomplish those things. And I think that was another interesting thing about like watching the Tracy Ellis Ross interview. It's like, I'm sure she met somebody when he was 24, and now she's looking back and she sees him happy with a family doing this thing. And she's like, that could have been me.
Do you think some people, even if they don't admit it, do you think it's possible for people to be happy, never being married and not having kids?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. But I don't feel like life is about happiness. I feel like life is about obligation.
I think that's a better way to put it. Fulfilled is probably a better word. Fulfilled.
The question is your community better off? Like, that's what we need to look at.
Community, and by you mean community, you mean Black community. Is our race overall better with us being in a relationship, commitment, married, single, Tracy Ellis Ross style?
Yeah, and we're using like the exception to the rule. We're using like Carrie Hilson, Tracy Ellis Ross. But what about that chick who works an average job?
Yeah,
who drives a Kia?
I'm gonna go here with it. I think people need relationships, especially at this day and time, because they can't afford to be single. You literally, and when I see people talk about this 100 finger thing, I'm like, yo, people are literally losing their apartments because they can't afford an extra $600 a month. And I get 50-50 is not ideal. But what about 70-30? What about 70-30? He's full-time at Kroger, you're part-time. 70-30. People can't afford it. So having these warped out rules when homelessness is on the rise and people are losing their apartments and their homes. We need matchmakers, bro. We need arranged marriages / matchmakers. Say, okay, bam, you're gonna get with them. That's it.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying is like the community is better off. The community is better off because if you look at the statistics and you look at the household income and you look at our households, and our households are headed by one single person, basically by choosing the point to be these single people, we're choosing poverty for our community. We're choosing to have a bunch of homes that are below the poverty line. And then another thing is America, and I've been saying this for a long time, America has evolved, specifically like liberal states, blue states, like your New Yorks, your Californias, your I think Chicago, or not Chicago, but Illinois rather. And what happened is when we passed all these laws that created equality and gave equal access, they said, okay, well, let's just raise the price on everything. Now they can have two incomes. And so when they raised the prices on everything, they didn't raise the price based on you going 50-50. They raised the price based on you going 100-100. They expect you to have two incomes in that household to take care of that house, two incomes in that household to take care of that car, two incomes in that household to take care of that private school education. And so it frustrates me because people just don't get it when it's really just math. It's not 50-50. It's we got an account. Here's my check. Here's your check. What can we do with this?
I'm only going to say this because he said it publicly, but that's what Anthony and his wife do. Like everything's 100-100. And look, you don't see them in any online debates. They got loot. None of them, are.
And if you were to look at most of the relationships that are successful online, you'll see that. If you look at most of the relationships that are successful online, you don't see one hustler and one person just chilling.
They make it work.
And I really want to harp on that because we got to stop following just anybody with an opinion. We got to follow people with the proven record of success. The Hartzogs are a successful family. They've set the template for us to follow. Don't try to create your own rules. Don't go out here listening to people who don't have the template, who don't have the example. Follow the template because we'll just listen to anybody that has an opinion that sounds good for the moment. But do they have the life that's the template? Whew. I think that's what's most important. When we're in the firm, we don't do nothing without a template. Like the practice of law is the practice of taking a template and applying it to your particular case. everything. And I was telling my mom, I was like, that's how everything should be approached. My mom is she's teaching at a college now, and everything that she's doing is, this is the class that was taught before me. Let me take this and put my own sauce on it, but still keep the structure of the template. They're not telling you anything that doesn't work and is not successful. And so it's like, if you choose to divert from the template, you're choosing to chance not being successful. I told my mom yesterday, I was like, there's a lot of decisions that I made in my life that weren't my decisions. I just listened to my mom. I just followed my mom. I just saw what she did, and I did that. I saw successful examples before me, and I did that. I wasn't just listening to anybody who was like, you can do this, you can do that. I always looked at where they were. I'm always looking at the successful people, the successful business owners, the successful investors. I'm mirroring that. I'm not just going to listen to anybody with a voice and a Twitter account.
There we are. Yeah. So, man, don't think about, if this goes wrong, how bad would it be? Think about the likelihood of this going wrong. And you got to, especially if you're a public figure, especially if you're rich, you have to play somewhat defense. And again, marriage and formal relationships aren't the cure for avoiding this stuff. But I tell you, if you go through the list of people who have been accused and haven't been accused, they're usually single. They're typically not married, fam. And I don't even think it's close. I got a jet, Chuck, but
let me say one last. Let me just say one last thing. We'll wrap it up. I'll just say that life isn't about fun, and life isn't about happiness. Life is about obligation. There's certain things you're supposed to do that you're obligated to do that you don't even realize that the real fun and the real happiness comes at the end of your obligation, not based on the immediate gratification that you see. That's just fun and happiness right now. Take it from me. I'm overweight. I need to get in the gym. I need to eat better, but I be eating good, and I need to stop eating so good. But with that, we out. Quick little in and out. We're gonna drop this on the audio as well. Thanks, Dre.
Black and Brother Wealth Conference Part 3, June.
Yeah.
All right. Peace.